Hello and good day. Today we will discuss that the person who are not liable for the GST registration. First, let us understand few terminology which is necessary to move further. The first one is a goods. Now goods have been defined under section 252. It means that every kind of movable property other than the money and the security. So money is not considered as a goods. That means on the value of the money there cannot be any GST nor any security. It means demand draft or bill of exchange. All these particular transactions are not liable for the GST but include an actionable claim. The actionable claim means the amount which we have to receive, but that is also subsequently exempted, and for that reason even actionable claim except which has been provided like lottery ticket cannot be liable for the GST. The growing crops, grass and the other things which has been attached to the earth, now this become a part of an immovable property. So unless and until they are severed, that means unless and until they are cut, they cannot be liable for the tax. So once it is cut, then it becomes a movable property and it becomes a goods. So goods are generally means a tangible goods. Now we have to remember that there are certain goods which are non-taxable goods. That means they are beyond the scope of the GST, like petroleum products, alcohol and electricity. These are not liable under the GST at all, and obviously when it is not liable under the GST, it cannot be liable for the registration when a person is dealing in this type of business. The next one is a service. Service has been defined under section 2 subsection 102. It means anything other than the goods. So what is goods cannot be a service. So both are mutually exclusive. Money and security, but include activity relating to the use of money. That means take for example, you exchange Indian rupee with the US dollar, and when that exchange take place, it is a service. And for this service, if there is a separate consideration charge, then on that separate consideration charge, that will be liable for the GST. However, if the transaction is done without any charge or without any consideration, or the services without any consideration, then that transaction also does not come under the GST because it does not come under the definition of the service. Now there can be a scenario where any person may be carrying out the business which has got good plus services. Take for example, you may go for a Xerox. Now when you go for a Xerox and you say you want a specific paper on which you want the Xerox, take for example you may say Modi Xerox. In that case you are interested in a particular quality of the Xerox along with the particular quality of the paper. So when that is the case, so you are interested in the service also and you are interested in the goods also. All these transactions were previously coming under the work contract. Or take another example, you go for a repair of the computer or repair of any equipment, and when the contract is being carried out in an inclusive manner, that means if the particular device become bad or it is not functional, a person may render the service and he may repair it, and if required he may change few parts also. In that type of a contract whereby you are interested in the service at the same time you are interested in the goods, then that transaction used to come under the work contract. However, when we look into the definition of the work contract under the GST, it says means a contract for building, construction, fabrication, completion, erection, installation, fitting out, modification, repair, all the things related only to the immovable property. So under the GST, work contract is restricted to the immovable property. All other work contract can be treated as a composite contract. And once it is treated as a composite contract, either it will be a job work, or it will be coming under the goods, or it will be coming under the services. This classification will be taking up subsequently. So this classification is also necessary to decide the provision or the place of where the service is being rendered. So when we come to the definition and the topic of the place of provision of the services, we'll be dealing in detail of the same. And at the same time, we will come to know at which point of taxation the goods is taxable, at which point the service is taxable, or the work contract or the job work is taxable. Then we have to keep in mind the Schedule 3 of the GST. The Schedule 3 says the transaction which cannot be treated as a supply of the goods, nor it can be treated as a supply of the services. Now when it is neither a service nor a goods, obviously this type of transaction cannot come under the GST, and because it cannot come under the GST, the registration is not required if you are carrying out this particular nature of transaction. The first one is service by the employee to the employer. So take an example. If a director is appointed as a managing director, on the managing director's salary there cannot be GST. But if you provide any sitting fee or any other consideration to the managing director, you must have taken is a property on the rent, a car or the house, and you are paying the rent or the car to the director, then that amount will be treated as a transaction under the GST, which will be liable for the same. But if you are simply paying the salary, then that transaction cannot be coming under the GST. The second one, any service rendered by the court or the tribunal established under any law for the time being in force, that means any statutory obligations which is being carried out, or any person who is functioning as a member of the parliament or MLA or MP in any of the municipal or local authority body, then this is not considered as a transaction which is liable under the GST. Or if any person is performing any duty in the constitutional capacity, in that case also that will not be coming under the GST. Or if your duty is being performed as a chairman or a director of the government body, then that is also a transaction which is not liable under the GST. Then the service of the funeral or the burial or the crematory service, once a person and or the transportation of the deceased body, then that is also not a transaction liable under the GST. Then the sale of a land is not liable under the GST, or the sale of building is also not liable under GST unless and until it is covered in the Schedule 2 of the paragraph 5. That means a transaction which is being carried out for the under construction of the building, that is liable for the GST. But once the construction is completed and then after the building or the property is being sold, that transaction is not liable for GST because it is neither covered as a supply of service nor as a goods. Then actionable claim other than lottery, betting and gambling. So all actionable claim, even though it is included in the definition of the goods, it will not be liable for GST except it is a lottery, betting and gambling. Then supply of the goods from a place in the non-taxable territory to another place in the non-taxable territory without such goods entering into India. Take an example. You get an order from one country outside India, and that goods you are selling to another country outside India, and the goods doesn't touch the border of India, but at the same time you get the commission or the money on that particular transaction. Then when you are supplying that goods or when you are purchasing the goods and you are selling the goods, that transaction will not be coming under the GST because goods are not coming within the India boundary. Or the supply of the warehouse goods. Here the warehouse means the goods which are lying in the custom. So if any goods which has come in the custom house and it is directly going from the custom house outside India, then that transaction cannot be considered as a transaction within India and it is not liable for the GST. Similarly, supply of the goods by the consignee to another person by simply an endorsement of the tax, what is known as a high seal sales. So whenever there is a high seal sales, that transaction is also not liable under GST. So all these transactions prescribed over here are neither a goods nor a supply of service, For that reason, if you carry out this transaction, it is not liable for registration. Now let us come specifically to the section 23, which says registration is not required. And when we are referring to section 23, we are referring to CGST Act. So beside the above transaction, which were not liable for registration as per the schedule 3, and now as per section 23, the following transactions are not liable for registration. First one, wholly exempted goods or services. However, we have to keep in mind that even though registration is not required in this particular scenario, if a person desired for, he can go for a voluntary registration. That is not the case in the case of the schedule 3 transaction which we have just seen. So now let us understand which are the goods and the services which are completely exempt GST. So section 2 subsection 47 define the exempted supply means a supply of any goods or service or both which attract nil rate of tax or which may be wholly exempted from the tax under section 11 or under section 6 of the IGST, and it includes the non-taxable supply. We have seen non-taxable supply are the petroleum products, alcohol and the electricity. Now let us understand this definition is both exhaustive and inclusive because it starts with the word mean and subsequently it says it includes. The main ingredients for exempted supply are there has to be supply. Second is supply must be of the goods or service or both. This supply has to attract the nil rate of tax, or it has to be completely exempted through notification under section 11 of the CGST Act or notification under section 6 of the IGST Act, and it includes a non-taxable salary supply. Additionally, any supply of the goods or a service or both which has been completely exempted from the payment of tax by way of notification. See, government goes on issuing from time to time the various notification. Some relaxation or some concession when our government want to give and it is not provided in the act, government has got a power under section 11 and under section 6 to issue the notification. And whenever such notifications are issued, it is issued with certain terms and conditions, and the claiming of an exemption is an optional. It is not mandatory. And this particular notification has to be followed in totality. That means whatever the condition has been prescribed has to be followed, then only it can be exempted under the GST. Now, as per section 17(2) of the Act, read with rule 42 and 43 of the CGST Act, input tax credit of this exempted goods is not available to registered person. So, if your goods are exempted, then you don't get the input tax credit on the purchases which you have made or the expenses which you have incurred on your expenses side. However, if you go for registration and you claim non-exemption, you can get the. Now let us see which are the goods which are exempted and the service also which are exempted. Now these are exempted by way of notification under section 11 or by way of a special order under section 11(2). Now there are nearly 250 plus transactions or the articles or the services which are exempted from the tax. Remembering all the 250 is a Herculean task. But let us remember the principle or the concept on which basis these exemptions are generally given. And if these conditions or the situation prevail or it is there, in that case there is a chances that the exemption might have been given. So we can look whether the exemption is available for a particular transaction or a particular goods or not. First of all, it has to be in the public interest. That is a common condition for notification as well as the special order. Second, for notification, it is necessary that it may be given that the GST even the partly may be exempted. That means 100% is not necessary it will be exempted. but sometimes they can even allow exemption for the 100% of the rate of particular GST. But in the special order, the circumstance of the exceptional nature has to be there. Take for example, when there was a tsunami, the government came out with a special order exempting the transaction in a particular area from the GST for a particular duration. And at that time, the GST was not levied on that particular transaction. And when it is wholly exempted, this transaction is not liable for registration, or it will not be counted even for your liability of the tax payability. Then next is specific description will be provided for that this particular HSN transaction is exempted from tax. The word HSN means harmonized system number. Now this number has been provided for each of the goods and the service, and this number remain the same across the world. So for any goods, if you refer the name of the goods here in India, find out the HSN number, and if you go to the HSN number of any other country, you can come to know what is the description given over that in that other country. So the specific HSN number also is required to be given whenever the exemption is given. Now this exemption may be effective from a particular date, or it may be provided that it is exempted from so and date to so and so date. This exemption can be partial or it can be total. So there are a number of transactions which are exempted from tax. Let us look into the few transactions. First one, day-to-day grocery. Then government related dealing. Then bangle, bindi, other things, because it is considered as an essential accessories if there is a particular community lady who has to wear it. Then books, newspaper. Then khadi and handloom products. Then religious function which is carried out up to rupees 10,000, it is not liable to GST. Then staying in the cheaper place where the rent is not more than 1,000 rupees, then it is not liable for GST. Then common class train ticket, ESIS provident fund, agriculture related product and services, education and training, healthcare, residence welfare association money up to certain amount, admission to the dance etc. other entertainment ticket where it costs less than 500 rupees, transportation charges if it is less than 1,500 rupees, and charitable organization. So these are the few transactions which is not liable for GST. So this was the first scenario whereby the GST registration was not required. The second one, whenever turnover limit is less than the exemption limit, if a turnover is more than the particular amount of limit which is given in section 22 and which will be taking up in uh, PPT, whereby a mandatory registration is necessary. So GST registration is not mandatory if your turnover is below the limit prescribed, that is 10 lakh, 20 lakhs or the 40 lakhs depending upon the scenario. And when we are taking a turnover, we are talking of the aggregated turnover. So aggregated turnover means the taxable turnover plus exempted turnover plus export and the interstate. From this the taxes has to be minus, and any expenses on which reverse charge has to be paid, that also should not be taken into consideration, and the non-taxable supply also should not be consideration. So this were the two scenario whereby the GST registration was not required. The third one, an agriculturist shall also be considered as a taxable, not as a taxable person, and to the extent of the supply which is produced out of cultivation of the land, the GST is not there. Now let us look into this particular in detail. The agriculturist has been defined under section 2 subsection 7. It means an individual or HUF who undertake cultivation of the land by own labor, or by the labor of the family member, or by the servant on wages payable in cash or kind, or by the hire labor under the personal supervision of own or any of the family member. So here the example, that means if it is a company or a partnership firm which is carrying out the agriculture activity, they will not be coming under this particular exemption, and they will have to obtain the registration. Now, example of the products which are exempted from the GST are vegetable and the produce from the agriculture served without processing, and the seed and fertilizer. Now, when a product is exempted for across the board, whether the person is an agriculturist or not. But if a person want to claim a benefit as an agriculturist, it is available only to the individual and HUF. It is not available to the firm and the company. In case of the service, there is only one service which is notified as a nil rate in the tariff schedule for the services. And these services are the support services to the agriculture, forestry, fishing, animal husbandry, or any other services whereby a person is required to do the storage of the goods in the air condition, pre-conditioning or pre-cooling thing, then that service also is exempted by way of a notification. Or carrying out an intermediate production process, then that also is exempted from the GST. However, certain thing like carrying out job work for rearing of the animal, except the rearing of the horse, then that is liable for the GST and it cannot be considered as an agriculture goods. We have to remember that agriculture still have to pay GST on the purchases which he is making. For example, the item like water pump, milking machine, self-unloading trailer, all this the purchases which you use for the agriculture purpose, on which he is paying a GST, but because he is exempted from the registration, he will not get the input tax credit of the same. So if you want to claim the input tax credit, he can very well get it under the voluntary registration available. Then the fourth service is an individual advocate and the senior advocate. Now, who are the advocate? Advocate means a lawyer. Lawyer means a person who has obtained the law degree and who is registered under the Bar Council of India of any state, then that person is a advocate. The advocate are not required registration. However, the lawyer who are not advocate, they have to register themselves under the GST. And here advocate including senior advocate are those persons who are designated by the court as a senior advocate depending on his number of the years of experience and the knowledge. Then individual sponsorship service provider including all the players like cricketers, and they are also exempted from registration because the sponsorship service is liable for tax under the reverse charge, and that person are to pay the tax under the recipient has to pay the tax under the reverse charge method. Now, what is a sponsorship service? Sponsorship service has not been defined under the GST. So let us look into the Finance Act 1994. Now, according to the Finance Act 1994, Section 65, subsection 99A, sponsorship include name of any event or naming of any event after the sponsorer or using the company logo or trade name, giving them the exclusive right of booking right or distribution of the prize right and any other form of any right given to them, and for that which consideration has been received, then that particular thing become the sponsorship service. Now, sponsorship service is taxable and it has been so stated clearly in the notification under the GST. However, just displaying the name of the sponsorer as a recognition will not be liable for the GST transaction. It means that if there is a quid pro quo, that means there is a condition given that you do so and so thing or you do something and I will do something for the same, then that transaction will be liable under the GST and it will be liable under the forward charge. But if quid pro quo is missing and it is just an acknowledgement or a thanksgiving to a particular person for sponsoring or giving a prizes, then that cannot be considered as a sponsorship service liable under the GST. It means that, take for example, if I give a prize in the college, it will not be liable to the GST transaction neither to me nor to the college. However, if this transaction, I put a condition that along with this price you print my company name, say Clarus Management. In that case, that transaction will be liable for the GST because you are doing the sponsorship service, and it will be liable under the reverse charge transaction. So, but if the tax is not paid under the reverse charge, then compulsorily tax has to be paid on that basis. So these were the 5 scenarios which registration was not required. Now the last one, as per the section 23. Person who is engaged in the supply where recipient is required to pay the tax. That means the reverse charge mechanism whereby the recipient of the service has to pay. Obviously the payer may not register himself under the GST because the recipient of the service will be paying the GST. Now we have to remember that certain transactions are not required for registration as per the notification. We have seen the transactions which were not liable as per the Schedule 3, so not required the registration. Then we have seen the transaction as per section 23 which were not liable, that was the 6th situation given required for registration. Now comes the transaction which are not required for registration as per the notification. So here it says job work. Any person who is carrying out a job work or any treatment or any process on any goods which belongs to someone, then that person is known as a job worker. Take an example. You have got a silver article, and that silver article you take to the plater and tell him you do the gold plating on that particular article. Now when that particular person do the gold plating, you are interested in a good plating as such. But while doing a plating, certain goods also will be transferred. So this is not a complete service. This is not a complete goods, but it becomes a work contract transaction. But work contract transaction, as we have seen under the GST, is considering only up to the immovable property, whereas this is not an immovable property. So this transaction comes under the job worker transaction. And job worker transaction, if the turnover is less than the prescribed exempted limit, they are not required to get themselves registered, even if it is an interstate transaction. In the compulsory registration, we have seen that the interstate transactions has to be compulsory recorded. However, that is not the case in the job worker. However, this exemption is not available to jeweler, goldsmith or the silversmith. So they are considering manufacturing on the job work, and this basic exemption limit is not available. But in any case, the value of the goods, when it is considered, only it will be restricted to the amount which he is not charging, not the value of the article will be included. Now, category of the person who is affecting the interstate transaction, compulsory registration was required. But under this case, when you are dealing in the handicraft good, then up to the limit of 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs which has been prescribed, you may not get yourself registered, and this is provided in the notification. So the section compulsory registration say you have to register if it is an interstate transaction. But however, the notification over here says that even this interstate transaction of the job worker, handicraft good and the taxable services. So first two were dealing with the goods, the last one is dealing with the service. So if you are carrying out the interstate services, then it is not liable for registration in this 3 situation only because it is provided as per notification. Then there are further transactions. We have seen that the casual taxable person was compulsorily required to register himself. But however, such casual taxable person is only dealing in the handicraft goods, then up to rupees 20 lakhs or the 10 lakhs or the 40 lakhs limit which has been prescribed, he is not required to get himself registered. Then e-commerce operator, if they are providing the services who are required to collect the tax at source, they are again not required to get themselves registered up to the basic exemption of 10, 20 or 40 lakhs as the case. So there we complete the thing on the registration which is not required. Kindly go through the statutory notice. In case of any clarification, you can drop an email at rajesh@dalalca.com. Other aspect of registration I have dealt separately, that the person who are not compulsory liable under section 24, we have dealt separately. Specific circumstance under section 22 and voluntary, when you register across the limit you require the registration, that is also discussed separately. Then what is the effect of the registration, that also we have discussed separately. Kindly go through the PowerPoint presentation of the same, and it is always advisable to subscribe to the channel, so any latest update on the GST you will be getting on the same. The practical guidance for registration we have discussed separately, and for that if you require any other further information you can mail me in detail.